Woe to those who enact unjust decrees and draft oppressive legislation to deprive the impoverished of justice and rob my people's poor of their rights, looting widows and preying on orphans. What will you do on the day of punishment when calamity comes from afar? To whom will you flee for help? Where will you leave your wealth so as not to squat among the prisoners or fall among the slain? Even after this, his anger remains, his upraised hand still threatens. On Ashur the rod expressing my anger, the club in their hands is my fury. I am sending him against a hypocritical nation, ordering him to march against the people who enrage me, to take the spoil and the plunder and trample them down like mud in the street. That is not what Ashur intends. That is not what they think. Rather, they mean to destroy, to cut down nation after nation. For their king says, aren't all my commanders kings? Hasn't Calno suffered like Kirkmish? Hamat like Arpad? Shamron like Damascus? Just as my hand reached the kingdoms of non-gods, with more images than in Jerusalem and Shamron, so won't I do to Jerusalem and her non-gods what I did to Shamron and her idols. Therefore, when Adonai has done everything he intends to do to Mount Zion and Jerusalem, I will punish the king of Ashur for boasting that comes from his proud heart and from revealing in his arrogant looks. For he says, with my own strong arm I have done this, and with my wisdom because I'm so clever. I erased the boundaries between peoples. I plundered their stores for the future. As a mighty man, I subjugated the inhabitants. My hand found the riches of the people like a nest, and as one gathers abandoned eggs, I gathered the whole earth. Not one wing fluttered, no one break opened or let out a chirp. Should the axe glorify itself over the one who chops with it? Should the saw magnify itself over the one who moves it? It's as if stick could wave in the hand that raised it up, or if a wooden staff could lift a person who is not made of wood. Therefore, the Lord Adonai Sabaoth will send leanness to his well-fed ones in the place of his glory. A fire will be kindled that will burn and burn. The light of Israel will become a fire, and his Holy One a flame, burning and devouring his thrones and briars in a single day. The glory of his forest and his fertile land. He will consume body and soul like an invalid wasting away. So few forest trees will remain that a child could list them. On that day, the remnant of Israel, those in the house of Yaakov who escaped, will no longer rely on the man who struck them down, but will truly rely on Adonai, the Holy One of Israel. A remnant will return, the remnant of Yaakov, to the mighty God. For although your people Israel are like the sand of the sea, only a remnant of them will return. Destruction is decreed, overflowing with justice. Adonai Elohim Sabaoth will bring about this decreed destruction throughout all the land. Therefore Adonai Elohim Sabaoth says, my people living in Zion, don't be afraid of Ashur, even when he strikes you with a stick and raises his staff against you the way it was in Egypt. For in but a little while my fury will end, and my anger will have destroyed them. Adonai Sabaoth will wield a whip against them, as he did when striking Midian at the rock of Oreb. As his staff was over the sea, he will raise it the way it was in Egypt. On that day his burden will fall from the shoulders, and his yoke from your neck. The yoke will be destroyed by your prosperity. He will come to Ayah and passing through Migron. He has stored his equipped at Michmas. They have crossed the pass. They then lodged in Giva. Ramah is shaking. Givat Shaul has fled. Cry, shriek, Bat Gilam. Listen, Laish, poor Anata. Madmina is in flight. The people of Givon take cover. This very day they will stop at Nov, and he will shake his fist at the mountains of the daughter of Zion and the hill of Jerusalem. See how Adonai Elohim Sabaoth loops off the branches with terrible violence. The ones standing highest are chopped down, and lofty are laid low. He will hack down the forest, unbrush with an axe, and the Lebanon in its splendor falls. But a branch will emerge from the trunk of Yashi. A shoot will grow from its roots. The spirit of Adonai will rest on him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and power, the spirit of knowledge and fearing Adonai. He will be inspired by fearing Adonai. He will not judge by what his eyes see or decide by what his ears hear, but he will judge the impoverished justly. He will decide fairly for the humble of the land. He will strike the land with a rod from his mouth and slay the wicked from a breath from his lips. Justice will be the belt around his waist, faithfulness the sash around his hips. The wolf will live with the lamb, the leopard lie down with the kid, calf, young lion, and fattened lamb together, and a little child to lead them. Cow and bear will feed together, their young will lie down together, and the lion will eat straw like ox. An infant will play in the cobra's hole, a toddler will put his hand in a viper's nest. They will not hurt or destroy anywhere on my holy mountain, for the earth will be as full of the knowledge of Adonai as water covering the sea. On that day, the root of Yishya, which stands as a banner for the peoples, the nations will seek him out, and the place where he rests will be glorious. On that day, Adonai will raise his hand again a second time to reclaim the remnant of his people who remain from Ashur, Egypt, Patros, Ethiopia, Elam, Shinar, Hamat, and the islands in the sea. He will hoist a banner for the nations, assemble the dispersed of Israel, and gather the scattered of Yehuda from the four corners of the earth. Ephraim's jealousy will cease. Those who harass Yehuda will be cut off. Ephraim will stop envying Yehuda, and Yehuda will stop provoking Ephraim. They will swoop down on the flake of the Plishtim to the west. Together they will pillage the people of the east. They will put on their hand over Edom and Moab, and the people of Ammon will obey them. Adonai will dry up the gulf of the Egyptian sea. He will shake his hand over the Euphrates River to bring scorching wind, dividing it in 7 streams, and enabling the people to cross dry shod. There will be a highway from the remnant of his people who are still left from Ashur, just as there was for Israel when he came out of the land of Egypt. On that day you will say, I thank you, Adonai, because although you were angry at me, your anger is now turned away, and you are comforting me. See, God is my salvation. I am confident and unafraid, for Yah, Adonai, is my strength and my song, and he has become my salvation. Then you will joyfully draw water from the springs of salvation. On that day you will say, give thanks to Adonai, call on his name. Make his deeds known among the peoples. Declare how exalted is his name. Sing to Adonai, for he has triumphed. This is being made known throughout the earth. Shout and sing for joy, you who live in Zion, for the Holy One of Israel is with you in his greatness.